deep and important things here. Moshe Rabbeinu of every generation. We need him.
Can't survive without him.
We can't survive Jewishness without him. If there is no Moshe Rabbeinu, there is no Jewish people. And there is no Jewish feeling. There is no Jewish survival. Because what do the Jewish people depend on? The Jewish people depend on for survival, exactly the opposite, self-sacrifice. That's a paradox. Most people think that how do you survive? By worrying about yourself, by thinking about yourself. The Jewish people, how do they survive? By thinking about Hashem, by thinking about God, by doing what Hashem wants to do in this world, and not thinking about themselves at all, not thinking about what they're going to get this world, or they're going to get the world to come, not thinking about heaven or hell. Then they're willing to serve God without any, calculations. And that's the secret to Jewish existence. In fact, that's the secret of why there is such a thing as Jewish people. And that's the secret of the whole creation. The whole entire creation depends on somebody being totally devoted to Hashem and not thinking about themselves. And that's the job of the Jewish people. What's it like? It's like love. Love. How does the relationship really work? A relationship really works if people are not selfish. Right? People could be a dictator. Dictators last for a long time. There's going to be a dictator in his house. But both people are supposed to ideally love Hashem, love God, and love Hashem's creation, then the other person. And to love the uniqueness of the other person, to love the miracle, the fact that there is such a thing as another person that Hashem has created. It's love, not thinking about yourself. That's the success of life. That's the secret of life. The secret of life is loving the Creator. Because that's what the Creator creates us from, is from love. He creates us from pure love all the time. As soon as people don't love the Creator, so they make up all these weird religions about death and this. Somebody once said that the Catholics and the Protestants, they worship a suffering Jew. And they try to make as many Jews suffer as possible, since that's their God. Suffering, death, punishment, hell, retribution. Right? Thinking about creation and good, that's the message of the Jews. The more the non-Jews incorporate this message into their religions, the more they'll start to see that their religions are false. Right? Not being afraid. The whole thing is being afraid. What's going to happen tomorrow? Be afraid. If you don't worship this God, that's it. You don't go to church, your candle goes out. Step on a crack, you break your mother's back. And the essence of Judaism is love, being positive. Of course, there's a framework. You can't just do anything you want to. You do anything like that. Of course, there's a framework, just like there's a framework for everything. There's a framework for how you're supposed to eat, and how you're supposed to dress, and how you're supposed to walk. If you're learning any business, there's a framework. You can't do whatever you want. And in the medical business, you can't just cut anywhere you want to. Just anything that comes into your mind. Let's go.
To get you ready for the camera.
Oh,
You're not recording.
How does it look now?
It's negative.
I think it. Hi ya ya hi ya 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 da ya da ya da. Shamil is a nigga. Let's go.
Shamil?
Shamil was a big leader, a big political leader in, I don't know, Chechnya or something like that.
The gang leader.
And
Gang leader.
wherever it was.
So that's the one who was in prison.
And the Russians caught him. And he was a big enemy of Russia. And the Russians caught him, and he sang the song of longing and hope and despair.
He's not Jewish. Jewish?
Huh? Not Jewish.
Shamil.
Okay, let's go. Not to be confused with Shlamiel. Shlamiel is a person who never gets anything right. Let's go.
On the way he was in the end.
His song made it big, made it the number one for a while.
It's like all the rap stars say they go to jail. So
To get famous.
yeah. Music becomes
Good, good. It's better than some of the other rock and roll. They die in the painters. Painters die in the Okay, look at. Let's go. Zion, right? Where are we now?
Zion, yes.
Yeah. Hine behold, you do it is known. Sham Mesiras Nefesh, it's a self-sacrifice, but poil, actually. That the self-sacrifice, the fact that they were willing to sacrifice their lives. Al Torah mitzvahs, on Torah mitzvahs, shall call Yisrael of all the Jews. VeAtah was the point of it. Ubezaman Gezeres Haman, and in the time of the decree of Haman. Never has there been such a self-sacrifice as the time of Haman. Never. Like I told you before, this is how the Alter Rebbe explains it. The Jews had a choice. They could have gotten out of the decree of Haman by just saying we're not Jewish. And no Jew did it. And it wasn't just a matter of, they heard about it on Sunday, and the decree was to get that all the non-Jews would be killed on Tuesday. So they had one day to decide. This was 1 full year. The decree was over their heads. In 1 full year, that all the non-Jews could kill any Jew they wanted to. So the king said, Gezeres HaMelech Ein Lahashiv. The king said, I can't rescind my decree. I made a decree that all the non-Jews can kill the Jews on the month of Adar, 14th of Adar, 15th of Adar, and I can't take it back. But what, I'll give you the right to fight back. So the Jews were outnumbered 1,000 to 1. And the non-Jews were sharpening up their swords, doing this practice, and things like that. And the Jews could have just said, hey, look, I can't stand the tension, I don't know what's going to be. I can't take the heat. I'll just say I'm not a Jew, let's do it, But his wife, somebody's wife says, George, why do you always have to be macho? Who do you think you're proving something to? Let's just say we're not Jews. Or one little kid said, Daddy, is it true that they're going to kill us if we're Jews? I don't want to die, Daddy. That's it. Nobody said it. Nobody said it. Nobody thought it. That all of the Jews never even, it aroused in their mind to think we're not Jewish. Remember, like a normal person doesn't arouse in his mind to say, hey, you know what? Let's all cut off our feet today. What do you say? Everybody, that's a pretty good idea. No. A normal person doesn't think nothing like that. The same thing, the Jews did not feel intimidated at all by this decree. They knew they were Jews, and that could never be taken away from them. Maybe their lives could be taken away, but it could never be taken away from them. On the other hand, they didn't want to die. They fought back. They did fight back. But they fought back, and they won. So we see they didn't just, say, send me to heaven, please, make my day. They didn't do it. So we see that on one hand, the Jewish people were tremendously self-sacrificing for Hashem, and on the other hand, that they didn't seem to be self-sacrificing. They fought back. The answer is no, that was their self-sacrifice for Hashem. That they were not willing to say, I'm not Jewish. They didn't care what the consequences were. But on the other hand, they're not going to stand in the street when a truck is coming. They defended themselves. But the amazing thing was their attitude. Their attitude was one of, no matter what happens, I'm not even going to consider saying I'm not a Jew. That was self-sacrifice of all of the Jews. in Purim, the time of the Gezeres Haman. Shamasir is never, the Rebbe is going to point out that when it says, this pasuk that says that the Jews accepted upon themselves what they began to do. Remember that? The Jews accepted upon themselves what they began to do. That sentence was said after the miracle of Purim. Not in the miracle of Purim. You figure in the miracle of Purim, that's what crushed. They were crushed. What brought out the God? See, listen.
The Kibul?
Huh?
Kibul HaYudim?
Kibul HaYudim, right, was not said at the time when they were Katit Lama'or, when Haman was crushing them. You think that they were, when you're being crushed, that's what takes out the pure oil. That's what we've been learning up to now. We're going to see that there's 3 types of crushing. I was going to say. There's 3 types of crushing. There's the crushing of the time of Moshe, if you want to call it that, the type of crushing of Mordechai, and the type of crushing now. Very amazing what the Rabbi says.
So just straight.
General. Okay. Masir is nefesh in the time of Gezeres Haman. The Masir is nefesh in the self-sacrifice of Chanukah, B'zman Gezeres Yavan. In the time of the decree of Greece, VeAtah was be'ikr mainly Matisyahu and his sons. Masir is nefesh, but the self-sacrifice is a man at the time. Gezeres Haman, the decree of Haman, VeAtah was the Kol Yisrael of all the Jews. Al Pisa, according to this, Yesh Levo'er, we can explain. Ma what? Shemuva is brought. Pa Maimer, and the Maimer, min Midrash, from a Midrash.
From a Midrash?
From Midrash, from a Midrash. He brought it before. What? In the Maimer of 1927, in the Midrash. Also, I just want to say that you should realize that in this Maimer of 1927, this was shortly before the previous Rebbe was put into prison. This was in communist Russia when Stalin was like really young and going at it. And that was like the peak, in a way, the peak he held for a long time. But 1927, that's when, it was awesome, just fearsome to walk around the streets. You couldn't think bad about Stalin. And then the previous Rebbe was in Russia, communist Russia, where it was forbidden to think about God or any other system that was except for communism. Communism was going to come and save the world. Anyone who was against communism was an enemy of all mankind. That's the way it was in Russia. That's what they really thought. here's the Rebbe saying these Maimorim and telling that, and there were spies planted everywhere. Everybody was a spy. Like the next door neighbors were spies, and they planted spies in the room where the Rebbe spoke, and the Rebbe knew it. The Rebbe knew who the people were the spies. But nevertheless, the previous Rebbe, he spoke clearly. There's a motion, the true leader of every generation, to bring out the Judaism of every Jew, and that's what's truth. And then you have to be the serious nefesh for this, for the truth, even to go against the government, like they went against Haman. And eventually, of course, a few months later, the Rebbe was put in prison. Your base Thomas was when he got out. Okay. Mordechai, then Mordechai, Haya was Shakul equal. Bedoro in his generation, Moshe, like Moshe, Bedoro in his generation. Ta'agam, that even though the Es Pashtusa that he represented, that the branch or the extension of Moshe, who is B'chol Dor in every generation. And how many generations were between Moshe and Mordechai? How many generations? 1,000 years of generations. How long is a generation? 20 years or something is a generation? So it's a different ways of figuring that out. So it still comes out that there's 50 generations between Moshe and Mordechai. Nevertheless, it says that Mordechai in his generation was like Moshe in his generation. Why doesn't it say, King David was like Moshe, or any of the other prophets were like Moshe? I mean, Mordechai came after Isaiah the prophet and all the prophets, and it brings up a lot of great people. Nevertheless, it picks Mordechai. It says Mordechai in his generation was like Moshe in his generation. The only example they could find is 1,000 years later, which is not so. There were examples the whole 1,000 years. There were examples. Why Mordechai? Nevertheless, Israel is brought the Midrash and the Midrash, even though that there is what? A representative of Moshe in every generation. Nevertheless, Isa, the Midrash is said brought in the Midrash. Mordechai Tavka, that Mordechai only was Shakul, equal, Bedoro, in his generation.
So VeAtah, the Midrash?
VeAtah is brought.
Brought.
Right, that's Aramaic. The Midrash and the Midrash, Mordechai, that Mordechai Tavka, that Mordechai specifically was Shakul, equal, Bedoro in his generation, Moshe, like Moshe, Bedoro in his generation. Why did it pick Mordechai? Yesh Lomar, we can say, Shemiha Ma'alot, that one of the, how do you say, Ma'alot, the high qualities. You want a pen? Yeah. Shemiha Ma'alot, one of the high qualities. The Mordechai Yehudi, who was Shehu, that he, one of the, why did it pick Mordechai? What did the Midrash say? Mordechai is like Moshe. Mordechai in his generation is Moshe. There were 50 Mordechais in between. Why did Mordechai? They weren't called Mordechai. It was called Yeshaya, and it was called Cheskio. Why were these people? This is because there was other kings. There were the kings of Israel, the kings of Yehuda. Kings. There were some of the kings were great people, right? Cheskio Melech, it says, he was the Mashiach of the generation. Why pick Mordechai? This is because Mordechai, Shehu, that he was Haraya Mehemna, the shepherd of faith, the faithful shepherd, Begilui, in a revealed way. Shall of call Yisrael, all the Jews, Shebetorah, of his generation. He was really connected to all the Jews. The Dugmas like Moshe, Raya Mehemna, the faithful shepherd. Shehim Shir Das, that he drew down. Das, connection of God. Call Yisrael, to all the Jews, Shebetoro, of his generation.
Shem Shech Da'at L'Kol Yisrael.
Connection, right? We said that meant connection to God. Can move. What happened, Gabriel? What happened? Did you knock on Moshe Tzvi's door? Alright, good. Come move on, like it's explained, like it's understood. Can move on. So what did Moshe do? Moshe elevated the awareness of the Jews, attached them all to God, and he said, showed them that there's an alternative to egotism. Showed the Jews that they don't have to be egotists, that they can be Jews. Right? They can be, Judaism is the opposite of egotism. Ideally. Showed them that they can really trust in Hashem, and they can get excited about Hashem, they can love Hashem, they can have faith in Hashem. It took all the Jews and raised them up in their day-to-day life. That's what Moshe did. They were walking through the desert, they said, Moshe, it's hot, hey, let's go home. Let's go. Moshe kept saying, no, God is with us, don't worry about it. So again they said, yeah, let's go and read, okay, let's get the Torah. Yeah, let's get the Torah. As soon as Moshe sort of stopped down, yeah, let's get the Torah. Yeah, let's go and back to Egypt. Let's go back. Come on. Moshe said, no. Going the wrong direction. Everybody, come on, turn around this way. Let's go to the Torah. Yeah, the Torah. Yeah, that's right. We're Jews. Come on. Yeah, that's right. Let's go get that Torah. Like, we're Jews. We're getting that Torah. Come on. As soon as Moshe Rabbeinu, took care of any personal thing. Yeah, let's get that Torah. Let's go back to Egypt. Come on, remember those fish? Yeah, let's tell them. Moshe like, hey, don't run away. That's a shepherd. Right? You got all these sheep going all around him. And he has them and show them where to go. The same thing was with Mordechai. Mordechai dealt with all the people. The people, by their nature, a person wants to live normally. All the Jews went to the meal of Achashverosh. They were having a good time. They thought Mashiach wasn't going to come. And they said, let's be normal. We'll be religious. We'll go to heaven. We'll have this world and the world to come. Mordechai said, you can't do it. You have to be crazy. You have to be crazy to be a Jew. Said, yeah, that's right, Mordechai, we're going to be crazy. But Mordechai somehow wanted to convince them to do it for 1 full year. Nobody even thought. Mordechai's influence was so great that all the Jews just didn't think about any danger, anything that threatened their Judaism just didn't exist. I mean, that didn't mean that they jumped off of cliffs and they tried to live underwater or something for an hour. They didn't take crazy chances, right? Let's drink some, poison. See what happens. Oh, what do we care? No, they wanted to live. We see that they all defended themselves, like I said before. But anything that touched on their Judaism just didn't exist. So Mordechai did. In other words, he raised them up in their consciousness to be aware of the Creator, of what the Creator wants. Says it says all the Jews in the generation. Moshe Rabbeinu drew das into all the Jews. Can move on, like it's explained in Gam also. Mizeh from this. Shedor Shel Moshe, that the generation of Moshe. Call on Shedoro, all the people in this generation. Nikra'u, or called Dor Deya.
Nikra called.
Nikru, or Nikra'u, maybe though. The door, maybe is Nikra. Nikra, they were called, it was called, the generation was called, or they were called, all the people in the generation, all the Jews in the generation were called Dor De'ah, a generation of knowledge, or as we explained it, a generation of connection, connected generation. A connected generation. Has there ever been anything like that? No. Right? There was the X generation and the drug generation and this generation, the connected generation. That was the generation of the Jews. They were all connected to Hashem. Elaba, turn your page over, huh? Right? No. Here it is. Ella.
Big Gimel.
Yeah, here it is. Over here.
Can we get an extra page?
Yes.
Thank you.
El what? Shiva Moshe, in Moshe, what was the difference between Moshe and Mordechai? Moshe, both of them were drawing das into the people. They both drew connection to Hashem. In other words, what does it mean connection to Hashem? They made Hashem real to everybody. Hashem was real to everybody. Let me give you just a small example. I gave this before. A person that works in the bank or wherever, and he decides he's going to be honest. He's an honest person, decides he's going to be honest. You could bring in front of this person all the money in the world, run it through his fingers, he could have the chance to steal, no problem, and he's going to be honest. Doesn't care what happens. But what is his problem? Let's say if the guy next to him steals, and he sees the guy stealing, and he knows that if he turns the guy in, that he's going to get the other person in trouble, or he's going to, the other guy's in the mafia or something like that. So now he's in a big dilemma. Should I care about myself, or what am I going to do? But I want to be honest. This guy's stealing. Let him steal. What do I care? Right? It's not my fault. I just made the thing that I'm going to be honest. I don't have to protect the whole company. Okay, he's in a dilemma, but him stealing, he's not going to do. Even the guy next to him says, listen, you just keep quiet about this, and I'll give you 10%. Right? He'll say, listen, take your 10%, I don't want it. I'm not going to tell you, you don't have to worry, but I don't want any of the money. Or maybe you will tell. Maybe it's a dilemma going on in his mind, but to steal is not going to steal. Right? What happened? He connected himself to something higher than himself. Connected himself to something higher than his own being. But he decided, I am going to be an honest person. Right? He decided, I am not going to hurt other people. He decided he's not going to hurt people. He's not going to say lashon hora. Not going to do it. He has the temptation to do it. Doesn't do it. No, I'm not going to do it. Right? It's more worthwhile to him to do this. I'm not going to play on Shabbos. I'm not going to drive on Shabbos. Why am I not going to drive? I'm not going to drive on Shabbos. Right? He's going to lose a lot of money. Right? But he connected himself to a higher principle. Let's say his principle is, no, I don't want to burn in hell. I'm going to go to heaven. I don't want to burn in hell. He said, what are you, nuts? Who's going to burn in hell? Right? All these other people, these are good people. They're all driving on Shabbos. You're going to say everybody's going to burn in hell except for you? Yeah, well, maybe not. Okay, maybe. Since the punishment for driving on Shabbos is you get stoned to death. Anybody gets stoned to death? You ever see anybody get stoned to death? Come on, be real. Says, okay, the reason I'm not going to drive on Shabbos is because God doesn't want me to. I don't care if I burn in hell, if I go to heaven, or if I get stoned, I don't get stoned. If everybody hates me, if I lose all my money, I'm not going to drive on Shabbos. That's all there is to it. And you can make them want to fire me for my... There used to be big problems with that, where, first of all, in America there were problems. in early America, when the Jews came in the 30s and the 40s, whatever, there were big problems. You just couldn't get a job. But you could make ends meet somehow or other. You could make ends. The big problem was in Russia. If they caught a guy not working on Shabbos, then you could get killed. They could take your kids away from you and put you in jail. Right? They knew you were a religious Jew. You were going against the not working. Russia, work was like holy. You don't do your job for the people. And nevertheless, there were people that said, I don't do what you want to. You know, they would trick. They would try to find a way, but they wouldn't work on Shabbos. This Rabbi Mendel for the fest, and they saw there were a lot of Hasidim. They just didn't work on Shabbos, even in the concentration camps. They didn't. They found some way around it. They found a job where they didn't have to do any work. There would be observers. There would be get some goy to take their place. They would work twice as hard on another day. They would do something. They would stand around and not do work while the other guy did the work, right? And then the next day they would do the work for him. However, it is a person has principles. A person has his values. Says Moshe Rabbeinu and Mordechai got the Jewish people to value Hashem. The highest value was Judaism, to do what Hashem wants. But it was a little bit different way. What? Shema Moshe and Moshe Haya was Gilui Inyan Zeh. This thing was revealed. Namely, Shahu, that he is
Gilui Inyan.
Gilui, the revelation. Inyan Zeh. How did this express itself? Shahu, that he. Raya, man, was the faithful shepherd, or the shepherd of faith. L'Kol Yisrael, that he aroused the faith of all the Jews. How did it happen? Al Yadei, by means of. You already finished the Chazorah?
Yeah. Chaim wasn't here.
Oh no. Al Yadei, by means of. Shemshich, that he drew down. Da'as, awareness, the call on Shedoro to all the people of his nation, well, of his generation. Mordechai kept reminding them that God exists, God exists. I'm giving you all the good you can. I took you out of Egypt. You're getting bread from heaven. You're getting water from a rock. And all the Jewish people kept saying, yeah, these are really amazing miracles, but let's not get excited about it. I mean, God can do whatever He wants to. Let's go back to Egypt. Let's go back to Egypt. I mean, the Egypt is decimated. We can be rulers over there. Moshe keeps telling them, no. Listen, everybody, just believe in Hashem. Connect yourself to Hashem. Realize you have responsibility to Hashem. Hashem is your friend. Hashem. He had to connect them to Hashem. Good. He connected them. Moshe. Mordechai was Gilui Inyan Zeh. He revealed this.
Gilui Inyan Zeh.
Gilui, he revealed this topic. There's the connection to God. Al Yadei, by means of not just connection to God, but Mordechai did what? Koach, the power, Mesiras Nefesh, of self-sacrifice. He aroused something that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't arouse. He aroused the connection to God, not just in an emotional way or a personal way, but in a sacrifice way. The Jewish people had Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice. That they didn't have in the generation of Moshe. The Jewish people were not threatened in the generation of Moshe. The problem with the Jews in the generation of Moshe was their own psychological and egotistical hang-ups, right? Their own worries. Jewish people were worried. People are worried. This is one of the biggest problems in the world, is that people worry. People are afraid. They're afraid of tomorrow. And the reason they're afraid of tomorrow is because they don't really believe in Hashem. If they really believed in Hashem, They wouldn't worry about tomorrow. They would do what they have to do now, but they wouldn't worry about tomorrow. That's what people would do, but they don't. They worry. That's what that was the problem of the generation in the desert. The generation in the desert, they had everything, but they were worried. What's going to be tomorrow? Maybe the manna won't fall. Maybe it's not so good tasting. Let's go back to Egypt. We're more secure there. We remember the streets. We remember that. More secure. But by Moshe Rabbeinu, by Mordechai, the problem wasn't just to fight against the Jewish people's attitude. Right? It was attitude. The Jewish people were really being threatened by the Goyim. It wasn't an imaginary thing like the Jews in the desert. 1 second, my son is calling me. 1 second. Should I answer it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello. אני באמצע שיעור. אני שלחתי, אני מקווה שזה נשלח. כי המחשב שלי זה הראה שזה נשלח, לא נשלח, לא יודע. אבל עבדתי על זה עד 1:30 בבוקר. Shalom. Hello? Okay, let's go.
So what is Shegila Koyach?
Shegila, that the revelation, so that he revealed koach, the power, hamasiras nefesh, of self-sacrifice. Shebachal Anshe Dor, of all the people in his generation. That he revealed the power of self-sacrifice in everyone in his generation. Self-sacrifice is the name of the game. By Moshe Rabbeinu, there wasn't self-sacrifice. He did not arouse Mesirut Nefesh. You know what Mesirut Nefesh is? Self-sacrifice. He didn't arouse this. There's people who are willing to sacrifice themselves for their country. Right? For their country, or for their honor. Right? You call me a weakling, I'll show you. Let's do a duel. Right? I have my honor. Person who's willing to sacrifice. Person who's willing to sacrifice for his money. For his money, he's willing to sacrifice himself. Right? People for their country. But all of these cases are cases where they think that they're going to win. They always think they're going to win. Right? For my money, I'll get the guy. He'll run away. I'll knock him out. Somebody cuts me off. I don't care how big he is. I'm going to get out. I'll show him. Right? Because his idea is that he doesn't care anything about himself. He's going to throw him. He's going to win. I'll win. Right? He's sure that this guy has my honor. He lifts my honor. I'll show him. I'll cut him up. He's not going to cut me up. He's not going to give me a remark. I'll show all these things. A person is willing to risk his life for the sake of, he wants to win. But the Jewish people here, they didn't think they were going to win. Moshe Rabbeinu aroused Mesiras Nefesh for the Jewish people. It doesn't make any difference what happens. You have to be a Jew. There wasn't the thought, don't worry, we can get on. Moshe Rabbeinu stands up and says, listen, I have techniques. Don't worry. Right? I know how to use a sword. I can show you guys something you never believe. Some tricks these guys, it's going to knock them all out. Come with me in the basement. I'll show you tricks they'll never, right? I have secret weapons, ninja stuff. Right? The Moshe Rabbeinu didn't say anything like that. What did Moshe Rabbeinu say? You're Jews. Believe in Hashem. Don't worry about it. Hashem will take care of it. And if Hashem doesn't take care of it, at least you died like Jews. Right? That was Moshe Rabbeinu's thing. Don't say, I'm not Jewish. Moshe Rabbeinu, he didn't say it like that in a negative way. He just reminded everybody they're Jews. We're going to see, he took people out and gathered them up in the door. The decree was hanging over their heads to get killed. If you say you're a Jew, you're going to get killed. Right? And Moshe Rabbeinu just said, Mordechai just says, listen fellas, you're Jews, remember it, be proud of it, don't worry about it, it's going to be okay, just think you're Jewish, what Hashem will take care of, whatever happens to be, if you get killed, you get killed, if not, right? Nobody said, hey Mordechai, do you realize what's going on here? I mean, you sit all day in your synagogue, you don't know what's happening, we live in the streets, these guys are big, these guys in Shushan Abira, these Iranians, they're immense, and they're just thinking about killing people all day. That's all they do is practice killing people and thinking about killing people. They want to make mincemeat out of it. Nobody even thought of that. Moshe Rabbeinu took away all of their fear. Mordechai took away all of their fear. Okay, with me. Amen. By means he drew down Das to all the Jewish people. Mordechai, he drew down Mesiras Nefesh. Shebakol and the other people, Yeshlom, we can say, Al Yedei, by means of Shemevi that he brought, Be'amayim and the Shemevi
that
he brings, like the same thing as Isa, Ita.
Maybe what?
Shemevi, that he brought.
Brings or brought?
Shemei al yedei by means of. Shemevi, that he brought. The previous Rebbe.
Or brings, same thing.
Right. In the Maimer,
There-
Mash, to that which is written.
There's really no way to know the tense in Hebrew, whether it's present.
Sure it is, of course. But Shemevi, there's some words that he brings and he brought. Shemevi, it's like the word bo. He bo means he came already or he's coming.
Yeah, so there's
Certain
no way
words,
to
there's
tell.
certain words that are like that, yeah. Sheba Maimer, Mash, that is what is written.
Which is great, easier to learn.
No, you have to understand the context. Mash Ketuv, that what is written, the Midrash and the Midrash. That what the previous Rebbe brought. That Mordechai, Bedoro, Mordechai in his generation. Haya was Shakul equal. Kamoshe Bedoro. Why does it bring that Mordechai was the one that was like Moshe? All the generations between Mordechai and Moshe, there was a leader like Moshe. Every generation has to have. Why does it pick Mordechai that Mordechai is 1,000 years later? It says the reason is because Mordechai did something that Moshe did, but in a new way. All the other people between Moshe Rabbeinu and 1,000 years later and Mordechai, they strengthened the faith of the Jewish people, they connected the Jewish people to Hashem. But Mordechai brought it to a new dimension, a new level. What was the new level? What do you say, Yisrael?
Serious Nefesh.
Mesirus Nefesh. Then Moshe Rabbeinu revealed Mesirus Nefesh in the Jewish people. Good? Yeah. Good? Mesirus Nefesh in the Jewish people. And we can say that with the previous Rebbe in his Maimer in 1927 brought this Midrash that Mordechai in his generation is equal like Moshe in his generation. Al Yedei, by means of this, Pasak, has he declared or decided. Baal HaMaimer, the one who wrote the Maimer. Who wrote the Maimer? Mendy, the previous Rebbe, in 1928. At the Din Alatzmo, made the law, declared the law on himself. And it was he declared about himself. Good?
Who wrote the Maimer?
Al Yedei, by means of this, Psak, decided or announced. Baal HaMaimer, the author of the Maimer, the 1927 Maimer, the name of the previous Rebbe, at the Din, the law, Al Atzmo, on himself. What law on himself? You with me, Mendy?
Yeah.
Shehu, that he, Raya Mehemna, is the faithful shepherd, Begilu in a revealed way, shall of call on Sheador, all the people of his generation. So what are we saying? Moshe Rabbeinu was the first shepherd of all the Jewish people. He connected all the Jews to Hashem. Mordechai brought it to a new level, and he brought Mesirus Nefesh. And the previous Rebbe brought it to another new level, and we're going to see what that is. Okay? Hey, Ches, Al Pizeh, according to this. Yesh Leva'er, we can explain. Kasher, the attachment. The Seder, and the order. Have a good day. Seder, and the order. Ha'inyanim of the topics. Ba'amaimer, and the Maimer, Ba'bior, and explaining the pasuk VeAtah Tetzaveh. Shebetchila, that in the beginning, Mava'er, he explained,
VeAtah Tetzaveh, and they...
Yekami Chayim. Betchila, in the beginning,
What is Atah Tetzaveh?
that's the name of the Maimer.
What does it mean?
The name of the name of this is
Oh, it's
Atah.
your order, yeah.
Moshe,
Command.
Atah Tetzaveh, connect
Sure.
the Jewish people. Right? Or the simple meaning is you, Moshe, you command the Jewish people to take the pure olive oil that was crushed for the illuminator, right? To shine for me constantly. That's the name of the Maimer. Says the Rebbe, now we can understand. The previous Rebbe's Maimer of 1927. Shebetechila, that first of all, Meva'er, the previous Rebbe explains, et haperush, the explanation, the meaning, of VeAtah Tetzaveh, you connect, or the simple meaning is you command.
What is the ata?
Of, quote, VeAtah Tetzaveh B'nei Yisrael, end quote. That's the first words of the sentence, that's the name of this mimer. Moshe, you command the Jewish people. But the previous Rebbe explains it, what does it mean? Not you command. Moshe, that Moshe, who is Mikasher, attaching, Umechaber, and joining, at B'nei Yisrael, the Jewish people, with or Ein Sof, with the infinite light of God. Al Yadei, how does Moshe Rabbeinu connect the Jewish people to God? Al Yadei, by means of Shehu, he.
That he.
Al by means of the fact that the he. Zon, feeds, Umafarnes, and sustains or provides for, nurtures.
Israel.
As Hamuna, the faith. That's the beginning. That's step number one. Moshe Rabbeinu feeds the faith of the Jewish people, makes the faith of the Jewish people more and more real, more personal, more internal. Ula'acharez, and after that, Meva'er, he explains, the previous Rebbe explains, Shegam, that also, Ro'ei, the shepherds, Yisrael of the Jews, Shebakol door of every generation, that's Espashtusa, the representative or the branch or the extension, the Moshe of Moshe. In every generation, Mechazkim, strengthen, et Emunah, the faith, the Israel of the Jews. Ukamo, and like Mordechai, that every generation has to have a Moshe, or even more, has to have a person like Mordechai. Moshe Shebedoro, the Moses of his generation. Shechizek, that he strengthens. At Emunasam, the faith. Shel Yisrael, of the Jews. La'amod, to stand. Chazak, strongly. Belimud Torah, and learning Torah. Bekiyum, and doing the mitzvahs. Fulfilling the mitzvahs. Good. So he said, what does the Rebbe say? First of all, Moshe Rabbeinu. What's Moshe Rabbeinu's job? Not just to be a political or a national leader, but to strengthen personally each and every Jew's connection to the Creator of the universe and everything that he does to feel. That's Moshe. And then the previous Rebbe says, every generation has to have someone like this. Especially we see in Mordechai, that Mordechai even brought the Jews to a new high level of Mesirut Nefesh, self-sacrifice. After that, in the previous Rebbe's Maimer, Mevo'eri explains, Pirush, the explanation, the meaning, put quotation marks in, quote, Katit Lema'or, crushed up for the illuminator. Sheba Pasok, and the Pasok, VeAtah Tetzaveh, quote, in the sentence, Atah Tetzaveh, the sentence we're talking about, Shemedaber, that speaks, Licha'ora, apparently, Moshe Atzmo, and Moshe himself. Right, what does it say? Moshe, you connect the Jewish people, and you crush them. Before we added the mimer that the Gullus crushes them. We'll see. Moshe, you crush the Jewish people. Because this Moshe, then Moshe Megale, reveals Bechin, at the level Hameor, you with me? Too fast? That Moshe Rabbeinu reveals HaMeor, the source of light, the essence, the Israel of a Jew. Like the Rabbi says, Etzem Neshama, that which he reveals, the essence of the soul. What does it mean, the essence of your soul? The essence of your individuality, of your being, right? Mendy lives. Mendy's alive. How does Mendy know he's alive? I'm alive. How do you know you're alive? You know, yeah, right? When I'm hungry, you feel it? No, you don't feel it. Because your feeling that you're hungry is your soul. And there's other things that you feel a little more deeply. What do you feel more deeply? You feel, say, your family, something happy. You hear some good news from your family. You're very happy. Like, very happy. You hear good news from my family? Hey, you're not so happy. Very nice. I'm very happy for you. Very nice. Even if you know my family, good. You're very good. You're happy and you dance with me. But you're not as happy when you hear about yourself. But then what makes you even more happy? Like, really good news. Whoa, your whole family, each one of them won $1 million. Oh, this is really great. If my whole family wins $1 million, it's okay, right? But what's the essence of the neshama? What is the essence of your soul? This is your soul. Things that you feel that nobody else feels. Right? What is the essence of your soul? Says the Rabbi, the essence of a Jew's soul is his connection to God. It's more real than money, more real than his family, more real than anything. In order to do this, you can't wake it up yourself. You have to have someone to make this real, because there's nothing you can see. Where is it? Where is God? You believe in God. Where's God? What do you believe in? Your family, you can understand. Your money, you can understand. It wakes in emotions inside you. Where is Hashem? What's it worth that you're supposed to... Then you have to have a Moshe Rabbeinu to make this thing real. To make it more real and bigger and more, how do you say, perceptible. You can feel it, you can perceive it, you can feel it. Feel Hashem more than you feel your family. Now, Hashem is not something like the Goyim, the non-Jews, the religion thing, some God's way, way far away, and he's, after you die, you get to him. He has to have an intermediator. Here we're saying Moshe Rabbeinu's job is to wake up the Jewish people. Wake up. If you don't wake up, if you want your dreams to come true, you have to wake up. We have to wake up the Jewish people to realize who they really are. To realize who they really are. That's what's called bittul. Bittul means that you surrender yourself to something that's more real than you are, so that you become who you really are. Right? You connect to something more real. Then you become who you really are. So it says... Moshe Rabbeinu. How so? Moshe Rabbeinu, first of all, he connects all the Jews to Hashem. How does Moshe Rabbeinu really do it? By being crushed. Namely, when did Moshe crush the Jewish people? When? We don't see in the Torah that he really crushed them. When did he do it? Be'ikar, mainly. Al Yedei, by means of Es Pashtusa Dilei, the representative of Moshe, Shebizman, in the time, Hagalos of exile, Katit, being crushed. Sha'oraru, that it arouses. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't do it. Who did it? His representatives in the later generations, that they aroused. Be Israel and the Jews. Koach, the power. See where you have it? Power. Amasir Nefesh. Here. Amasir Nefesh of self-sacrifice. Right, is that it? Shalahem, of them. That's the job of Moshe. Started it, but Mordechai only did it 1,000 years later. And what about the previous Rebbe? We'll learn. Previous Rebbe is already more than 2,000 years after. Sha'al Yedei Zeba means of this. Who is Ikar, the main Gilui, revelation, Etzem and Hashem of the essence of the soul. Namely, what? Quotation marks. Me'or. Me'or.
What is kach? Took?
Huh?
Oh, koyach.
Koyach, the power. So what do we see? Moshe Rabbeinu's job is to connect the Jews to Hashem. When did this really get revealed? Not by Moshe, but by the representative of him, by Mordechai. And the Rebbe is going to say later on that we see that Mordechai also didn't do the job completely. Why? Because Mordechai's crushing of the Jewish people came in combination with Haman. Haman threatened the Jews and Mordechai told him how to get it. But if so, it was an external thing. It wasn't really real. The Rebbe is going to say we can see that there were Jews in Russia, that when there was Stalin, that the Jews were serious numbers. When they came to America, when they came to France, when they came to Israel, they didn't reveal the essence of their soul anymore. This is why, because that was the job of the previous Rebbe. We're going to see. The job of the previous Rebbe is that we should be crushed all the time, especially the Rebbe himself. That we should be crushed all the time. We'll see what we have to be crushed about. But Hashem said, today was a sleepy day.